6 years after they first stepped into the spotlight, fan-favorite couple Jenny Slatan and Sumit Singh have returned to during Season 1 of 90 Day Fiancé. The other way, viewers fell in love with Jenny and Sumit, an international couple who refused to let the barriers of distance and age get in the way of their budding relationship. While their romance started out rocky, to say the least, as the duo met when Sumit friended Jenny on Facebook through a fake account, Jenny quickly moved halfway across the globe to be with Sumit in India. Today, Jenny and Sumit have been happily married for 4 years. Despite tensions over cultural differences and a lie about their joint living situation, Jenny has not only received their blessing but forged a positive relationship with Sumit's family. However, this season, everything is about to change for Jenny and Sumit as they prepare to move in with Sumit's family. Leading up to the 90 Day Fiancé, The Other Way Season 7, Jenny and Sumit caught up with Swoon, revealing what they have been up to since their last appearance in the franchise and T-Sime this season. Scroll to read our full conversation with the stars. Sumit, like, a lot of people were asking us to please come back, saying, we want to watch something original and good. So, we come back. People believed their relationship would come this far. What began with a Facebook friend request, then moved through deception, a huge age gap, cultural conflict, family pressure, social judgment, and one painful obstacle after another, has now brought them back into the spotlight once again. But this return is not just a return to television. It feels like another major test of their love. This time, they are standing at the edge of a decision that could once again put their relationship under pressure. And that is exactly where the real emotional pull of this story begins. Jenny and Sumit's relationship did not begin like a fairy tale. It began in confusion. Sumit first connected with Jenny on Facebook using a fake identity. Naturally, for most people, discovering something like that would destroy all trust. But strangely, from that very place of deception, their relationship slowly began to build something real. The man Jenny first knew behind another name and another face eventually revealed his loneliness, his weakness, and his deep desire to be loved. Over time, that truth pulled her in. Many people said from the start that this relationship was wrong. Some said it would never last. Others said it was nothing but drama. But as time passed, Jenny and Sumit became a couple whose story may have had drama, but whose emotions felt completely real. At that point in her life, Jenny was living in America, in a very different phase of her journey. She was older, experienced, and had already seen a lot of life. Sumit, on the other hand, came from a completely different world. He was much younger, raised in a middle-class Indian family, where family honor, social expectations, and parental approval mattered deeply. For these two people to fall in love almost seemed impossible. But sometimes life places two people side by side who no one ever imagined would belong together. When Jenny moved to India for Sumit, it was not just a romantic decision. It was a choice to leave behind her comfort, her security, and the familiar world she knew, and step into an uncertain future. She probably believed that love would make everything easier. But reality was very different. A new country, a new environment, a language barrier, different food, different customs, a completely different daily lifestyle, and on top of that, Sumit's family, society's judgment, and the constant pressure surrounding their relationship. Through all of that, Jenny kept standing. And Sumit, in his own way, was also struggling with doubt, fear, and guilt. One of the biggest obstacles in this relationship was Sumit's family. They could not accept the relationship, especially because of the age gap and the question of social reputation. For many people, the idea of an Indian son being with an older American woman was not easy to accept. Sumit seemed trapped between two worlds. On one side, his family. On the other, Jenny. On one side, duty. On the other, love. That conflict followed him for a long time. And Jenny often felt that she was not simply loving a man, she was fighting a daily battle where the enemy changed shape constantly. Sometimes it was society. Sometimes it was family. Sometimes it was truth. Sometimes it was time itself. Still, this story is not only about pain. Because in the middle of all that struggle, there were small victories too. A quiet afternoon together. A cup of tea shared with laughter. A small room filled with comfort and trust. A soft apology after an argument. Those were the moments that truly held Jenny and Sumit together. They were never perfect, but their relationship had something very real in it. In that reality, there were mistakes, fear, pressure, and uncertainty, but there was also love. As time passed, viewers began to understand the deeper layers of their relationship. At first, some people only saw the chaos. Later, many started to see two people trying to make the impossible work. Jenny was no longer just a foreign woman. She became a woman who chose love despite her age, despite public judgment, despite uncertainty. And Sumit was no longer just a confused man. He became someone slowly trying to find his own voice. Now they have been married for 4 years. And even those 4 years were not easy. Many people probably assumed that once they got married, all the problems would disappear. But real life begins after the cameras stop rolling. A marriage does not survive just because a wedding happened. Every day, that choice has to be made again. And that is what Jenny and Sumit have done. Through cultural differences, different lifestyles, family tension, financial realities, and the natural challenges that come with an age gap, they have stayed together. One of the most surprising parts of their journey is that the very family who once rejected this relationship slowly began to show signs of change. It was never simple, but over time Jenny managed to build something with Sumit's family beyond basic tolerance. Whether that was full acceptance or not is another question, but at least they reached a point where coexistence became possible instead of open hostility. Jenny tried. She stayed patient. Sometimes she stayed quiet. Sometimes she adapted. Sometimes she swallowed her pain. And maybe it was that quiet effort that slowly pushed the relationship forward. But sometimes peace is only the silence before another storm. Now that they are back, a new challenge is waiting for them. And that challenge is so personal, so deep, that it is not just about where they live. It is about the limits of sacrifice, the boundaries of love, and how much a relationship can bend before it starts to break. Sumit now says that a lot of people were asking them to come back because they wanted to watch something original and good. That line carries confidence, but also a little exhaustion. It feels like after years of criticism, doubt, and mockery, he wants to say, "We are still here. Our story is not over." So this return is not only for the audience. It is also a statement from them. They are opening the door to their lives again. But the real question is this: what is waiting for them on the other side of that door? The biggest change now is their living situation. Jenny and Sumit are moving toward a stage where they may have to live with Sumit's family. And hearing that alone tells you how much emotional pressure may be waiting ahead. Because living together does not just mean sharing a roof. It means sharing rules, facing expectations every day, being judged over small things, and allowing other people's presence to fall over even your most personal moments. Especially in a family where discomfort around the relationship existed from the very beginning. For Jenny, this is clearly a huge emotional test. She is older and has spent much of her life living in her own way. She values independence. Her own rhythm, her own habits, her own personal space, those things matter deeply to her. So if she now has to move into an environment where every action may need explanation, where every behavior may be compared, and where even silence may be interpreted, then it is easy to imagine how difficult that could become. Sumit's position is not easy either. Because the person standing between his wife and his family usually carries the greatest pressure. On one side, he wants Jenny to feel comfortable. On the other side, he wants his family not to be hurt. But in real life, those two goals do not always move in the same direction. And that is where a new conflict begins. Will he truly be able to stand firmly beside Jenny this time? Or will the old hesitation return again? Will he be able to balance both sides? Or will this new arrangement prove that the peace they built over time was always fragile? These questions do more than create suspense. They also bring out the true depth of Jenny and Sumit's relationship. Because love is tested most when it begins to lose its private space. When two people are alone together, they can manage problems in their own way. But when third, fourth, and fifth voices enter the relationship, everything becomes more complicated. If family becomes part of everyday life, the breathing room inside the relationship begins to shrink. Think about it. If judgment is hidden in everything from breakfast to bedtime conversation, how long can someone stay emotionally normal? Jenny's accent, clothes, habits, cooking, worldview, all of it may once again be marked as different. And Sumit may constantly hear what he has lost, how he has changed, and who he is choosing to prioritize. The kind of pressure that builds quietly inside a home can slowly wear a relationship down in ways outsiders never fully see. And yet, this story is not only about fear. Because Jenny and Sumit have already shown that even when they break down, they know how to stand again. They are not people who came this far by walking an easy road. Every stage of their love story was difficult. So maybe this new challenge will reveal another new side of them. Maybe Jenny will become even stronger. Maybe Sumit will become more clear in his choices. Maybe the family will show an unexpected softness. Or maybe the pressure that has been building for years will finally explode. That is probably why viewers still want to watch them. Because Jenny and Sumit's story does not offer perfect romance. It offers reality. There are no polished fairy tale promises here. There is uncertainty, tears, hesitation, sacrifice, stubbornness, and the constant decision to return to each other. Many people probably see some part of their own lives in this story. For some, it is about standing against family pressure. For others, it is about love beyond age. For some, it is about a relationship that began in lies but somehow grew into something real. Sumit's short comment, "A lot of people were asking us to come back because they wanted to watch something original and good," feels like more than just a casual quote. It sounds like they know people are still watching. People are still curious. Their story is still unfinished. And honestly, it does not feel like a story that is anywhere close to being over. Because relationships like this are never wrapped up with a simple happily ever after. Every new decision, every new home, every new family dynamic opens a brand new chapter. So now the real questions begin. Can Jenny truly adapt? Can she step into a family structure and set aside part of her independence? Or will she realize that there are limits, and that changing too much means losing herself completely? And Sumit, will he just keep speaking about love, or will he finally make strong decisions for love? Will he protect his wife, or once again leave everything to time and circumstance? The answers are still ahead. But one thing is clear. The change coming into their lives is not small. This is a turning point where all the unfinished fears, all the old discomfort, and all the hidden tension could rise to the surface again. Because living with family is not just a fresh start. Sometimes it also reopens old wounds. And if those wounds never fully healed, even a little pressure can make them hurt all over again. When you see this journey through Jenny's eyes, it feels even more emotional. Here is a woman who left her country, endured humiliation for love, and still tried to become part of this very family. Maybe she believed that after all these years, peace had finally arrived. But now she may be stepping into another chapter where her place in that family could once again be questioned. This is not just a test of adjustment. It is a test of self-respect. And when you see it through Sumit's eyes, it becomes clear that he may still be standing in the same emotional conflict that followed him for years. He does not want to lose his family. But he does not want to lose Jenny either. The problem is, life does not always offer a path where everyone stays happy. Sometimes a choice has to be made. Sometimes a person has to find his own voice. And maybe this is the moment when Sumit will finally have to prove that he does not just love Jenny, but that he is also brave enough to stand by her. This return, then, is not just a reality show comeback. It is a new chapter in a relationship that has been tested again and again, questioned again, and still remains alive. That alone matters. And if an even bigger storm is waiting ahead, it will still be worth watching. Because some relationships are placed in difficult situations again and again to break apart, while others prove their truth by surviving those very situations. The biggest question now is which kind Jenny and Sumit will be. The comfortable. It will carry old resentment, family discomfort, cultural difference, lack of personal space, and the quiet exhaustion both of them may already be carrying inside. But somewhere on that road may also lie the most important answer about their relationship. Because sometimes love becomes most real when it has to be chosen all over again. And that is exactly where their story stops us once more. Because we know they once made the impossible possible. But the test that is coming now feels different from every test before. Falling in love is one thing. Keeping love alive is another. But protecting love in the middle of family, culture, respect, independence, and identity, that is an entirely different battle. And that is the battle Jenny and Sumit are about to enter now. From this point forward, living under the same roof will not just be a decision. It will redefine each day of emotion. The moment Jenny stepped into the house, something felt different. It was not just another place to live. It was a space filled with history, expectations, silent judgments, and unspoken rules. The walls did not speak, but they carried memories of resistance, discomfort, and everything that once stood against her presence in Sumit's life. She smiled politely, trying to hold herself together, but deep inside, she knew this was not going to be easy. This was not just a new beginning. This was a return to the very place where her relationship had once been questioned the most. Sumit walked beside her, trying to act normal, trying to convince himself that this time things would be different. But even he could feel the tension in the air. It was subtle, almost invisible, but it was there. A quiet pressure that followed every step they took inside that house. At first, everything seemed calm. Conversations were short, polite, controlled. Everyone was trying to maintain peace. But peace like that never lasts long. Because when people are not fully comfortable, silence becomes heavy. And in that silence, emotions begin to grow. Jenny started noticing the small things. The way her actions were being watched. The way conversations would stop when she entered the room. The way simple things like food, habits, or even the way she spoke felt out of place. She tried to adjust. She really did. She woke up early, tried to follow routines, tried to fit into a system that was never designed for her. But no matter how much she tried, there was always something that reminded her that she did not fully belong. Sumit, on the other hand, found himself slowly losing control of the situation. At first, he thought living together would bring understanding. He believed that if his family and Jenny spent more time together, things would naturally improve. But reality was different. Being close did not reduce the distance. It made the differences more visible. Every small disagreement felt bigger. Every misunderstanding lasted longer. And slowly, he realized that he was once again standing in the same place he had tried so hard to escape. Caught between the woman he loved and the family he could not ignore. One evening, something small turned into something much bigger. It started with a simple comment. Something about how things should be done in the house. It was not aggressive, not loud, but it carried weight. Jenny felt it immediately. It was not just about the comment. It was about what it represented. Control. Expectation. A reminder that this was not her space. She stayed quiet at first. But silence can only hold so much. Later that night, when she was alone with Sumit, everything came out. Not as anger, but as exhaustion. She asked him a question that he could not easily answer. How much more do I have to change to be accepted? Sumit had no clear answer. Because deep down, he knew the truth. This was not just about change. This was about identity. And asking someone to constantly change who they are just to fit into a space can slowly break them. For the first time in a long time, Jenny started questioning everything again. Not her love for Sumit, but the life she had built around that love. Was it worth it? Had she already given too much? Was there still more expected from her? These questions stayed in her mind, growing stronger each day. Meanwhile, Sumit was feeling a different kind of pressure. His family expected him to maintain balance. They wanted him to respect traditions, to understand their concerns, to not forget where he came from. And at the same time, Jenny expected him to stand beside her, to protect her, to make her feel secure. Both expectations were valid. But fulfilling both at the same time felt impossible. And the more he tried to keep everything together, the more it felt like everything was slowly slipping apart. Days passed, and the emotional distance between them started to grow. Not because they loved each other less, but because they were both tired. Tired of explaining, tired of adjusting, tired of holding things in. Love was still there, but it was now surrounded by pressure. And sometimes, pressure changes the way love feels. It makes it heavier, harder to carry. One night, Jenny sat quietly, thinking about her journey. Everything she had left behind. Everything she had endured. Everything she had believed in. And for the first time, she allowed herself to think about a possibility she had avoided for years. What if love is not enough? That thought alone was enough to shake her. Because for so long, love had been her answer to everything. But now, standing in a house where she still felt like an outsider, she was not so sure anymore. Sumit could see the change in her. He could feel the distance. And that scared him more than anything. Because losing her was never something he wanted. But now, he realized that loving someone is not the same as making them feel safe. And maybe, without realizing it, he had failed at that. The real turning point came when silence replaced communication. They were still together, still in the same space, but something was missing. The ease, the comfort, the feeling of being understood without words. It was slowly fading. And in its place, there was tension, questions, doubt. At that moment, Sumit faced a reality he could no longer avoid. He had to make a choice. Not between his family and Jenny, but between staying silent and finally taking a stand. Because sometimes, not choosing is also a choice. And that choice often costs more than we realize. Jenny, too, reached her own moment of clarity. She understood that love should not feel like a constant test. It should not feel like something you have to prove every single day. And if it does, then something is not right. That realization did not make her angry. It made her calm. And sometimes, calm decisions are the most powerful ones. Now, everything depends on what happens next. Will Sumit finally stand up and create a space WH under?